show you how to run independent sample t-test. Okay, we are using the same data set here, which are the IQ data. Okay, so we have three group here. Okay, and their respective IQ score. Okay, for example, let's say my hypothesis is I want to compare, is there any differences in the IQ score between group 1 and group 2, for example. Okay, so how to run this analysis? You go for analyze, okay, and then choose compare mean, and then here you choose independent sample t-test. Okay, so for the test variable here, you should input the IQ score. Okay, so because this is the one that we are interested to know. Okay, so and then for the grouping variable, okay, what are the group that you want to compare? So it's just the group number, and then you need to define which group that you want to compare. Okay, is it between group 1 and group 2, or group 1 and group 3, or group 2 and group 3, for example. Okay, so you can change here. Okay, let's say if you want to compare between group 2 and group 3, so you can add value. Group 1 is 2, group 2 is 3. Okay, and then we click continue. Okay, for the estimate effect of size, you don't have to click. Okay, and then just click, okay, sorry, option also, if you want to change the value of alpha here, okay, for example into 2%, so you can change here into 98%. Okay, by default it will test you at 5% level of significance. Okay, so by default I just leave as 95% confident interval. Okay, and then you click OK. So these are the output that you will have. Okay, so we want to focus here the independent sample t-test. Okay, so you can see here, okay, the t value and also the p value. Okay, and also you are given the confidence interval. Okay, but if you look here, we have two type of output. First, equal variant assume, and the other one is equal variant are not assumed. Okay, if you still remember, we have case 3 and case 4, which is for equal variant assume and unequal variant assume. Okay, so how to decide to use which output? Okay, to take which output lah. Is it the first row or the second row? Okay, so we will focus on leaving test for equality of variant first. Okay, so leaving test here will give you decision whether the variants are equal or not. Okay, so we will focus on leaving test first. Okay, for leaving test for equality, okay, you can, okay, let's give me time to write the what are the hash not and h1. Okay, for hash not, for the leaving test are, okay, variants are equal, and then for the hash not, variants are equal, okay, give me some time. Okay, for leaving test, okay, the null hypothesis are hash not, okay, variants are equal, and then for the h1, variants are not equal. Okay, so look at the p-value. We will reject hash not if p-value less than alpha. Okay, so look at here, the significant value or the p-value, okay, So the p-value here showing that the p-value is equivalent to 0.006. Okay, so we get p-value here 0.006, which are, yes, less than 0.05. For example, I said alpha is 0.05. So we can reject the null hypothesis, right? Okay, so when we reject the null hypothesis, meaning that we will accept H1, so which mean that variance are not equal. Okay, so in this case, the variance are not equal. Okay, so we will rate the output for equal variance are not assumed. So meaning that if you want to take the value of t, so you should get the value this t. Okay, and then the p value this one, and then these are the value for mean difference, standard error difference, and also the confidence interval. Okay, but for example, if you get the p-value greater than alpha, which for example you get the p-value equals to 0.7, for example, so we are failed to reject the null hypothesis, right? So when we fail to reject the null hypothesis, meaning that the variance are equal. So if the variance are equal, so you should read the equal variance assumed output. Okay, for example, let's say I compare between group 1 and 2. Okay, so I run again, analyze, compare, mean, one sample t-test. Okay, so I define the group here is between group 1 and group 2, and then we click OK. So you can see here, the p-value for the Levene test are 0.570, which are greater than alpha 0.05, meaning that we are failed to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so the comparison between group 1 and group 2, okay, we should look into equal variance assume. Okay, because the p-value here we get 0.570, okay, which are greater than alpha. Okay, so we only reject the null hypothesis if p-value less than alpha, but here the p-value are greater. Okay, so for the t-test, you should read the output for equal variance assume. Okay, so the first one, I compare between group 2 and group 3, so we can see that the variance are not equal. Okay, but if we compare between group 1 and group 2, it was changed into the variance are equal. Okay, so please be careful, okay, in reading the output, okay, to decide for independent sample t-test. Okay, please remember, for Levene test, H0 variance are equal, H1 variance are not equal.